the topic that we are here for. We are here for SC-200, that is Microsoft Security Operations Analyst exam. And my name is Atul Rana. I am information security expert for one of a bank in Netherlands. I am in Netherlands for almost 7 years, working in a banking and government organizations. And I've been following up with Azure for quite some time now. So let me give you some brief introduction about Infosect Train. So about Infosect Train, it has been established in 2016, and Infosect Train is very famous for lots of their certification and lots of gladiators all around the world. And I was one of them few years back. We have picture of endorsement. There are lots of trainers, lots of courses, and around 4.5 years of service now. The list of clients that Infosect Train works with. Okay, let's come to the topic now about SC-200. And this is one of pretty new exam that has been introduced by Microsoft. And I think pretty hands-on exam. It's not a theoretical exam. It's quite a hands-on. So no cramming is required to pass this exam. And that's very nice of Microsoft about it. About the agenda for today. We will be completing about few topics. That is, one is about SC-200, the content, exam content. So it's not like that we will share with the question, but what are the important things to get ready for this exam? I will show you all the required portals, a brief introduction about KQL. We have exam objectives. There are few suggestions that were helpful for me when I gave this exam, and question and answer that we'll handle throughout the session. Okay, about SC-200. So this is one of a certification from Microsoft, and I have given a link about it. You can go and visit the link and look at the requirements for the exam. But if we talk about basic stuff that we'll see in the exam, will be Microsoft 365 Defender. I think they will be around, Microsoft says that it's around 25 to 30% question, but I think they were a little more than that when I gave my own exam. Then we will be using Azure Defender around 30%, and Sentinel plus KQL will bring around 40-45%. So that's a demarcation given by Microsoft. There might be something up and down, but yeah, the only things that I suggest that you should be hands-on before you give this exam. That's very important about it. So yeah, that's what I told already, that we will be looking at Microsoft 365 Defender, Azure Defender, Azure Sentinel, and KQL is common for all of these three. So KQL will bring all together with them. This is the exam name, Microsoft Security Operations Analyst, and it's an associate exam. So you will earn the certificate of an associate from Microsoft about it. This exam is majorly divided into 5 different parts, and I think it was mentioned for me on the website, because when I started learning about this exam, it was a beta exam, but when I gave the exam, it was actually a full-fledged exam a week before. So I divided it into 5 different parts. One is Microsoft Defender for endpoint. Second will be Microsoft 365 Defender, that will include 2 different products, and we'll come back to that. The third will be Azure Defender. The fourth will be KQL, and fifth will be Azure Sentinel. So these are the main parts where we divided this exam, and we'll cover them very briefly one by one. So if you talk about Microsoft 365 Defender, Microsoft 365 Defender will include 3 different portals into it, or 3 different products into it. One will be Microsoft Defender for Office 365, one will be Microsoft Defender for endpoint, and one will be Microsoft Defender for identity. And I have also given a link about it. So if you want to go and research more about Microsoft 365 Defender, I have a link, and I think this presentation will be shared with you. So you can go and visit the link. But that was an important point, because we always thought initially that Microsoft 365 Defender is only one single portal, but it's a combination of 3 different portals. Although they have now created one unified portal, and I will show you about it also. Then comes to Azure Defender. So the topic that comes up basically more or less in the exam will be Azure. In Azure Defender will be support platform, permissions, workspace setup. So how do you set up your workspace? How do you install Sentinel over the workspace? And then how do you install or enable Azure Defender into it? And how do you manage Azure Defender rule set? So how do you enable rule? How do you suppress the rule? How do you see alerts from the rule that you have created? These were few important points that we need to remember while preparing for this exam. So if we think about only this topic, this was around 30%. And it's not a lot, but quite useful to learn about it. Then we come to Azure Sentinel. And in Azure Sentinel, the main topics that include are planning the workspace, configuring rules, storage, security part, plan and use data connector. So how do you install a data connector? How do you use the logs from it? How workbook are attached to a connector? Then comes the syslog part and the CEF collection of logs. So there are by default few inbuilt connectors or out-of-box connector given in Azure, but if you want some more logs, you need a syslog server. So how do you configure a syslog and how do you collect logs via syslog or CEF? And then how do you collect and configure Windows event connector, threat intelligence connector, and how do you create rules, queries, playbook and workbook? The playbook and workbook I think were not into very detail, but can be a few theoretical question about it. So if you look at the picture, we have a tenant, then the subscription. A tenant can have multiple subscription within it. A subscription will have a resource group. Within a resource group, we need to create a workspace. And in a workspace, we will have Azure Sentinel inside the workspace that you create. And this is about collecting logs from on-prem devices via syslog. And how do you create log analytic workspace, and I will show you about it also practically. So I can actually show you the portals that are used. So this is Azure Sentinel portal, the first portal where we expect around 40% or 45% of questions in the exam. So in this portal we can see all the incidents. So here we can look at the incidents that are created, the workbooks. We have few inbuilt hunting queries that are given out of box by Microsoft, and so you can run all of them or one by one. So you can select them based on whatever you feel like. So if you want to select only on recurrence or any tactics or techniques used by the MITRE ATT&CK framework, so a MITRE ATT&CK framework is basically attached with it. I do not see a question based on notebook or playbook, but these are good to have, just a basic understanding. We have data connectors. So these are all the active connectors that are active with my subscription right now. Analytics is where you create your rules. So if you want to create any rule, you just put create, make a schedule rule, your rule name, description, which tactics and techniques the rule use, the severity, and the next you can put the query that you want to, and you can also test the query with it. So it's not difficult to create rule in Azure Sentinel, but there are few questions that you can expect from the rule part. And there are few solutions, but not relevant for this exam, but good to practice out. So you can try with them. I can show you something about how to, like, suppose we can try to enable one connector, a threat intelligence taxi feed. So suppose we want to connect it to one of our abuse.ch server or fish tank or something. We can give it the root API, the collection ID for Tank is 107. And we do it, suppose, every minute. I will disable it later. So it's now connected. The status is connected, and after few minutes we can start seeing the logs from this connector. I don't think so it will take a lot of time, but yeah, by the time I will show you something else and we can come back to it and look at this, but it's easy. So if you want to connect to your Active Directory, just open the connector, just follow the steps that are given here. So if you want to suppose get all the logs or few logs, just enable it. The status will change soon. It generally takes few minutes, but it will change as soon as, and then we'll start seeing the logs. Also, then we know which kind of logs, that will also turn into green, and then we can click on them to see the logs also. I will come back to this by the time it gets enabled. The second portal that I want to show you is Microsoft Defender for endpoint. This is endpoint used generally for your endpoint devices like your laptops. And here I just connected two of my Windows machine to it. And we can onboard and offboard devices. Suppose if you want to onboard one more machine, we just click to onboard, download the package, run into the machine that we want to onboard. And if you want, same goes with offboarding, we just download the package and it will remove the Microsoft Defender for endpoint from it. And after working with this Defender, and I think it is one of the most powerful tool in terms of antivirus and malware protection. I quite liked it because I am using it for quite some time now, and they are able to detect most of the attacks that we have seen in the organization. Also with Microsoft Defender also created one unified portal that's a combination of endpoint and email all together in one go. And that means you can only log into this portal and can handle both your emails and endpoints from one place. And it is very useful for the exam because this has been enabled recently and there were few questions that were quite good about it. So yeah, you need to do a hands-on practice. We can like run hunting queries from there. Then we can go directly to queries. So just device info, and then it will show the results of all the devices that are connected to it. Anything that you want. Also, if you want to use a KQL and maybe do something with it, I think most of you guys will be familiar with SQL. I write a query in SQL. So it says that select start from ABC table where name is equal to ignite. This is an SQL statement. So if we want to write the same statement in KQL, it will be ABC table, pipe it with our statement, like whatever we want to, where name. So I think you guys are familiar with SQL. KQL is not very different or very difficult to understand. There are only few things like we have one single equal to sign, it contain two, or if you want to, if you do not know how ignite is written and you want to do case insensitive search, then we can write it like this. Or if you want to, if you do not know if ignite is a complete word into it, so you can also use word like contain. So, and this is all equal. So it's not very difficult. So we will write again the ABC, pipe it with name like this. Or I can give you one more example. Suppose you want to count the number of rows in a table in SQL, and we can write it like sum star. But if you want to do this in KQL, we do it I think in an easier method. So we'll type the table name, pipe it with whatever we want, and we want to count. So I think it's easy, but it's a little different than SQL. But I think if you are familiar with SQL, this will be easy to do. Although there were few questions that you can expect in exam from KQL part specifically. and good to know about it. Understand KQL, give it some time, and I will inform you about few websites that will be helpful about learning KQL. And last that I want to show you is this is the Office 365 Security and Compliance, used as an email gateway generally. So this is a portal. This is how it look like. I have not configured anything. I just enabled it today itself. So these are the 3 or 4 different portal that you can get access to. And I think initially for 1 month, Azure portal, portal.azure.com is free of cost, and you will also get $150 initially for 12 month, and that $150 is for 1 month, and you have mostly all the features running with that 150s. I think it's more than enough to work with that. There are few websites that I found handy when I was preparing for my own exam, and one was the document from Microsoft specifically. So here you can understand about what is there in exam, but today only I came to know that they're about to change something in the exam. I do not expect some major changes because there are no major functionality changes came, but maybe the exam format or something. But still you guys have more than a month, almost a month to finish up this exam, and I don't think so this exam should take a month to learn. If you are hands-on, you need a week only, and if you want to get hands-on, you need another 2 or 3 weeks to get hands-on and 1 week for preparation of the exam. Pretty technical question that to move around here and there, straightforward, will be easy to do. There is one website that I really like, that is Kustoking. I have mentioned it in my slide also, and the person behind this, Gyani, and Gyani, he is very knowledgeable guy. He is MVP, and he has written this website, and he has done it with levels, so 100, 200 and 300. That's an increment level. Very good website to start learning about KQL. If you want to try it from very basic, good to start with it. There is a book available on Amazon from Richard. Yeah, I took a special permission from Richard too, and Kiani also about mentioning their name, so it's not violating anything. So a book from Richard about Azure Sentinel. This is the first version. The second version is about to get completed. But I think this is very good for this exam. So if you are preparing for this exam, this book will be quite a handy book. Not very deep, but very easy to follow. And Richard is also a very nice guy, so he generally promptly replies if you have any queries. Or when I was preparing for my exam, I had few conversation with him, and he was really helpful. And third, I want to show you about a GitHub page. This page is managed by Rogier Dijkman. He's a Dutch person, so I am in contact with him generally. And the good part about this page is if you are new to Azure Sentinel initially and you want to just quickly deploy a working environment for you, he has created a Sentinel playground. So you just need to click on it. It will ask you on which portal or on which subscription you want to install it. Straightforward. So you just fill up the resource ID, the location, and in the end it will look like this. So this is the Sentinel playground from Rogier, and it has, now it is 14, but if you give it some time, it will have around 23 connector installed already with it, and lots of logs, and you can put your rules and enable them. So you have initially basic ready working environment, and I think this is very good when you are starting preparing for an exam and you have a free subscription and you have 150 gigs of or $150 of amount left for you. This will only take, I think, 10 or $8, no more than that initially. So very nice to have to get started with it. And another nice page is Azure Sentinel to go, and it has also have few deployments already. So This is Azure Sentinel to Go page. So it has lots of deployment already, like Windows, Active Directory, Windows 10 workstation, the Palo Alto firewall. So you just need to click and then they are ready to deploy in your environment. So very nice resources to start with, and I will paste them as soon as I finish all those links, and I think I pasted them in my presentation also. Okay guys, let's close the session here. Or you want to learn more about the courses that Secure Train will provide? So yeah, Infosect Train, so just go for it. Okay guys, have a nice evening. Take care, stay safe. Bye bye.